Is it true that the date that Alexander's father was assassinated and he came to the throne has been lost?
Yes, we have accurate dates for Alexander's birth and for his death and even for his greatest battle at Gaugamela. But the only vague clue we have as to the date of accession are the statements in Arrian and Diodorus that the reign lasted 12 years and 7 or 8 months, which would put the accession in the autumn of 336 BC.
But now you think you found some clues?
Yes, I've noticed in my reconstruction of the history of Alexander by Clitarchus that Clitarchus, being a fussy historian over chronological issues, began and ended at least the first 5 books of his history on the anniversaries of Alexander's accession. And in addition, he points out specially that the Battle of Gaugamela occurred within the 5th year of Alexander's reign, and then he begins the 6th book of his history at midnight at the end of the day of the battle.
How does this help pinpoint the date of accession itself?
Well, if Clitarchus is splitting the hot pursuit of Darius away from the battle, it strongly indicates that he thinks that the day after the battle is the 5th anniversary of Alexander's accession. Now, that's interesting because we know exactly what day the battle occurred on, because there was a lunar eclipse that can be calculated astronomically, which shows that in the Julian calendar the battle took place on the 1st of October in 331.
So did Alexander come to the throne exactly 5 years earlier on the 2nd of October 336 BC?
Unfortunately, it's not quite that straightforward, because Clitarchus couldn't use the Julian calendar that we use for ancient dates because it wasn't invented for another 3 centuries. Instead, he used a Greek lunar calendar. In particular, he seems to have used the Athenian calendar. Now, that calendar started its months on the date of the new moon, and the year began with the summer solstice, the first new moon after the summer solstice. That means that the date of the battle was on the 26th day of the 3rd of these lunar months in the Athenian calendar, the 26th day of a month the Athenians called Boedromion.
So Clitarchus dated Alexander's accession to the 27th Boedronian in 336 BC, but how do we know what day that was in our calendar?
Well, we can use NASA's list of all the lunar eclipses for the last 5,000 years. This shows a section of this list for Alexander's period. Now, the lunar eclipses occur at full moon exactly, and because we know the exact length of a month, we can work out what days the new moons were on, and these would have been the beginnings of the months in the calendar that Clitarchus was using. Now, it happens that in 336 BC, the 1st of September in the Julian calendar was a new moon. So, in other words, the 27th of Boedromion in 336 BC would have been the 27th of September in the Julian calendar in that year.
This is an amazing extrapolation, but are there any corroboration?
Yes, we use the Julian calendar for ancient dates, but nowadays, we use the Julian calendar because the Romans used it, and all their dates are in the Julian calendar, and we don't want to be incompatible with that. But nowadays we use the Gregorian calendar because it's better at keeping the equinoxes on the same day, and it keeps the spring equinox around the 21st of March and the autumnal equinox around the 22nd of September. Now there's a 5-day offset between the Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar in Alexander's era. So it turns out that the 27th of September in the Julian calendar in 336 BC is the 22nd of September in the Gregorian calendar, and that means it was the autumnal equinox. Now, the other thing we know about Philip's assassination and Alexander's accession is that it took place at a major Macedonian festival, and we also know that the Macedonians began their year with the first new moon after the autumnal equinox. So the autumnal equinox was a really important day for them. So it's a very credible day for a festival, and that effectively corroborates this. We have a set of months in this diagram here which shows how Boedromion overlaps with the Julian calendar in 336 BC and is slightly offset relative to the Gregorian calendar. So the 27th of Boedromion is also the 27th of September in the Julian calendar and is the 22nd in the Gregorian calendar.
This is interesting but complicated. Where can I find out more?
Well, there's a much more complete version of this argument published in my new book, Alexander the Great in Afghanistan, which is part of my reconstruction of Clitarchus.
Thank you.